Everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Music News Daily on the Music Industry City Broadcast Network. I'm Peter Schwinge, and this is where we scour the World Wide Web for music business news that we find important, and maybe you do too. I'll be starting very shortly, but first I want to welcome all the viewers on YouTube, Twitch, DLive, Facebook, and to everyone listening in on Clubhouse. How you doing? I see Randy and Mike there. Oh, I see Music Express over there on Twitch land. How are you? Great to see you. All right, so I kind of just give a little warm up while people start showing up into the room. So how this works is I will pull up an article and read key sections from it. I will then open up the floor for approximately 5-minute discussion. And so if you want, you can raise your hand during the read of the article if there's something you'd like to chime in on that particular topic. So you can queue it up and I can bring you right on stage. For the video viewers, you can type in the comments, questions at any time. And for those in Clubhouse, as I said, just feel free to raise your hand during the topic and I'll bring you up and then you can stay on the stage. And when we have free time, we do this for the hour. If we have some available time, we'll make it a roundtable discussion and everybody can join in. Please note that this is being simultaneously live streamed on YouTube and Twitch and others and being recorded. If you are not comfortable with that, please do not raise your hand to speak. After we go through the 3 headlines, again, I will open up the floor for continued discussions on the topics for the remainder of the hour. And if you enjoy this, you want to tune into all our programming and networking events, follow the Clubhouse Music Industry City Group by clicking that green little house on the top there. You can also find us on your favorite podcast player, video network, or socials, and register for free at musicindustry.com to get the weekly schedule. And if you'd like to be a guest on any of our shows or submit music to one of our listening sessions, slide into my Insta DMs to find out more. So, all right, I think it's good time to kick this off. Right. So I don't know how many remember Turntable.fm about a decade ago, and I think it closed down around 2013, and that was a lot of fun for the minute that it was active. It had a lot of challenges, but it is back from the dead. And I have 2 articles. They are short today, and they tie into each other because each article covers a different side of the story, and I feel they're kind of important, and it's also interesting to see where this is going. So on the Verge.com, the title, and again, you can, if you are tuning in on the video side, in the show notes, there will be the links to these articles that I pull up. So this is the Verge.com. Turntable.fm is back from the dead, and now there are 2 of them. So the article starts off, it's rare that apps come back from the dead, but it seems that may be what's happening with Turntable.fm, a site that lets users create their own radio stations and DJ sets with the music they curated before it got shuttered in 2013. Even rarer, it seems like there are 2 versions involved in the revival. The original Turntable.fm site is back up and running with the involvement of its original founder, Billy Chasson. But there's also Turntable.org, which will reportedly be launching in beta this April. The 2 sites sites seem to be taking different directions. Turntable.org, the new version, mentions there will be a subscriptions fee, perhaps not a bad idea, while the original seems to be largely unchanged from the one that shut down in 2013. While the original founder has confirmed he's involved with the .fm version, the .org version also has OGs working on it. The Our Team section mentions an original Turntable founding member as well as the artist who designed the original avatars in 2011. The original app and the current Turntable FM lets you create a virtual room, then select what music you play for anyone listening. At the moment, the song selection seems to be limited to what's available on YouTube, so you probably won't be able to sneakily slide in your mixtape. Also, the whole site seems to be phasing in and out, so I think it's one of those, off record here, off topic. The site was experiencing when they opened it up. I can say that it just you got a password, and if you had that, you got in, and it just started crashing. It couldn't take the load. So. Turntable.fm, so a little history. It shut down in 2013 after a drawn-out fight for survival. Every piece of the news since point to it never coming back, but it popped up again last Friday. And the original site, they say it was loved by many. The world, especially the music industry, has changed a lot since 2013. It remains to be seen what, if any, lessons Turntable.fm, Turntable.org take from the first go around. So that was in the Verge. And I wanted to tie this into the Digital Music News article, which the title is "Turntable Raises $500,000 to Fund a Comeback Attempt." And again, if there's anybody that has experience and has seen dealt with remember what happened with the licensing, you can raise your hand, and when I finish this read, we can have a little discussion about it. Then I'll go on to the next topic, and after the third topic, we have an open forum. So if there's something you'd like to chime in about, raise your hand and I'll pull you up on the screen. So this one is from Digital Music News, Turntable.org, as opposed to Turntable.fm, which was the original. There's a virtual music lounge, not to be confused, has raised $500,000. The service allows DJs for virtual rooms where users vote whether songs are great or not. And the quote is, "The outpouring of encouragement and support from investors of all levels continues to encourage us," says CEO and founder of the original Turntable, Joseph Perla. Strangely, there are now two Turntable comebacks, one residing at Turntable.fm, which involves the original founder, Billy Chasen, and Turntable.org, which has slightly different plans. Quote, "The all-new Turntable will be as much as fun as the original, built for 2021, mobile first." So that's the key differentiator, is that this is Turntable.org is mobile first and designed to last forever, end quote. The founders of Turntable.org shared, "We are adding new backers every day and look forward to sharing the beta launch in April." So, there's a lot of investors in there. They have they've noticed 5 different investors. Some from Google, MetaMask, MobileCoin, Filecoin, Fastly. So this is interesting, and I didn't put it in the headline on purpose. But the 3 letters are going to pop into this conversation. You'll notice that this is from the article, notice that several early investors and advisors have their start in the cryptocurrency space. Turntable could be positioning itself as a place to market digital NFTs for music. The original Turntable was a music-focused social network for emerging DJs to have fun. And this Turntable is designed as a virtual clubhouse with music. NFTs are the perfect digital merch complement to that design. The payment system rewarded DJs who play popular songs that encourage people to dance. It's unclear how that system will be tailored to suit 2021 or how it will be monetized. So this is really interesting to see what kind of licensing challenges they're going to have. They're talking about the NFTs and other collectibles. Again, if there's something that you want to discuss about this particular topic, you're free to raise your hand and I'll bring you on up. If not, we can go on to the next topic there. All right, so here we go. All right. So Billboard, let's talk about Billboard charts will now include Facebook Music video streams. The Billboard charts, and this is from faroutmagazine.co.uk. You can also find it on other, probably just by doing a search. Billboard charts will now include Facebook Music video streams. The Billboard charts such as the Billboard Hot 100, Billboard 200, Artist 100, and Billboard Global 200 charts will now include streams of licensed music videos on Facebook in its rankings. The announcement will start from March 27th and include data from March 12th until the 18th. Facebook hasn't officially hosted music videos for very long, and it only began being home to licensed music videos in August of last year. The new update to the charts acknowledges Facebook streams as, quote, ad-supported on-demand streams. However, it will only include streams in the USA. And to bring in this history, the charts is Billboard first began factoring YouTube streams in 2013. And this is the first time they recognized user-uploaded content into its song charts. In 2020, they officially licensed music video streams into album charts, and the Facebook move is the latest update in the modification of the Billboard chart. So Tamara Hervnak, Vice President of Business Development and Partnerships at Facebook, described it as a, quote, important step. Quote, on Facebook, music videos represent so much more than just the video itself, she said. It's about creating a new channel for social experiences around music so you can discover a new artist from a music video shared by an artist you follow or friend in Newsfeed. Connect with other fans who share your passion in a Facebook group dedicated to your favorite artist, and react to a video in real time as it premieres, all on the same platform, she added. Hope that was stated, because that was a big run-on sentence. That was a little hard for me to get out there without a little breath. All right, so does anybody have any thoughts on this? I mean, this is going to be really interesting. Is this another way of, bots are going to start selling Facebook ads? We had this discussion yesterday on the show, on the Monday Kickoff show, and one thing that was being discussed, that was tossed around, was like, well, now ad campaigns in Facebook. So now you're just going to pay more money. So it's almost like a pay to chart, where you pay for ads, have the ad direct to the video gets the play. Now we don't know what the criteria is. Is it a 15 second, 30 second? Is it a 90 second? What constitutes a play is what is not clear here. And if anybody has that information, wants to jump in or let me know, just raise your hand. And so therefore, it's like, if I create an ad campaign and then I just keep on pointing people to my Facebook video, it counts it as a play, and I can literally, without even having to pay somebody like a playlister or a radio DJ, I can just keep on putting those ads and getting plays and then moving myself up the chart. So it's another interesting way, and maybe bots are going to figure out something, what they can do, to make, they'll figure something out. So if anybody has any comments on either like Turntable FM or the Billboard charts, we're going to move on to the Clubhouse music mecca. All right, so this one is in Forbes.com, and the title is Clubhouse is Fast Becoming a Music Mecca and a Hot Mess. So that's from the other day. The Clubhouse is many things to musicians and music pros: a virtual music conference with endless panels, marketplace for promoters of bands and brands, a jam session, musical theater for the ears, and a late night hang. Monetization and misinformation problems persist, but haven't muted Silicon Valley's newest social media hit, which features the world's oldest social medium, Voice. And voices are singing in harmony and becoming a thing on the app, especially after the pop-up Lion King musical became one of the Clubhouse's biggest publicity scores yet, helping slapshot the app's popularity to a near hockey stick-shaped rise. Miraculously, neither legal issues nor live streaming logistical challenges sacked The Lion King. The show streamed twice without Disney's permission and never drew complaints from the notoriously litigious studio, says Noelle Chestnut Whitmore, who organized the shows along with producer Bomani X, who she met on Clubhouse. Arguably, the performances needed no direct licensing from Disney because its producers didn't record it, and the app's so-called blanket licenses, similar to ASCAP and BMI licensing for radio stations, covered their acts. If anybody knows more about the licensing that's going on, please raise your hand. Would love to discuss this more. Quote, we're planning an even bigger follow-up, Whitmore says, a global jam session where we'll have 34 countries participating. This is no small feat, given the logistical problems of live streaming musicians and singers from around the planet in real time. Worldwide collaborations over the web get wobbly because of latency, a signal delay. We don't need to go into the definition of latency. And when Rolling Stones performed You Can't Always Get last April from their separate homes in one world together home initiative, it wasn't a real-time simulcast. So, these are the type of things that, this latency, the new technologies. So we're might start seeing more of these. So the article goes on to talk more about latency. It's, that's all technical jargon, and the 10-second delay. So I think, it's more important about, what they're saying is like, another quote is, I think musicals on Clubhouse will become a thing, Street says. The stereotypes have been writing and recording songs using the Zoom video conferencing app, which has latency and transmission issues like Clubhouse, and it's tricky. Quote, for a recent songwriting session, says Street, we played the top liners, vocalists, a bunch of tracks, and we had already recorded them. Then they selected the one thing they wanted on their end. They muted themselves while we were laying down melodies, and then they played it back, and together we chose the ones that sounded best. When they were ready, everyone just logged off, and they cut on their own, sent us back the vocal, and then we had it. So it's kind of cool for a writing session. And the article, this is really like, a great article. I'm going to skip over a little bit, or we'll be here like for a really long time. So what they're saying, they talk about thought leaders dive into music topics. There's a lot going on. And then is room dropping the new club hopping? So down the hallway, another room called Last Night a DJ Saved My Life had VIP rappers, The Game, and D-Nice holding court on early hip-hop days and the current scene, with openings for fans to say hello and ask direct questions. Quote, you can have a VIP meet and greet every single day with your fans if you want to, so Phil Quest, a music agent at CAA, who signed the Chainsmokers. Obviously, every artist isn't going to do that, but artists who want to can create a real connection with fans. So there's a lot going on. They talk about the Cotton Club here. And to wrap this up, like Radio Clubhouse stays in the background so eyes can remain on the road, roam the room, or rest, unlike video-based social media that require more visual attention and swiping and clicking. This, together with the feeling of companionship in isolated times, seems to make the app the biggest hit of the moment on social media. So again, this talks about, even without a apparent means of monetization, Clubhouse was reportedly valued at $1 billion. And quote, this classic Silicon Valley, says Eric Allen, music and media attorney, get a lot of funding, get the eyeballs, or in this case, eardrums, and then figure out how to make money later. And when that happens, Clubhouse can expect to hear from the lions of the music industry roaring for royalties and revenue shares. That was a lot of R's to get in there. So, if anybody has some comments that we want to, would like to jump on the stage here to talk about some of these particular topics, I welcome you up to the stage. Just remember, this is being live streamed and recorded. And so if you're not comfortable with that, please don't raise your hand. But I see Brett. How are you, Brett? Great to see you. How are you doing?
Hey, Peter. Thank you for having me on the show. How are you doing?
Very good. Some interesting things. I mean, I was an old Turntable FM user. Billboard charts are always trying to figure out different ways of, making sure their charts stay in sync with the times. And, Clubhouse. What can you say?
Exactly. Yeah, your Clubhouse point and just talking about the Disney musicals, that actually brings up an offshoot question, just particularly with the new update where they've allowed people to create clubs within the app, and it's been a real estate war essentially to grab a username. So I noticed when I did a quick search of Disney that there are several Disney clubs launched, including the @Disney, which raises the question, when are we going to start to see major brands and major companies go after the IP of those clubs for the usernames? Because, when you're talking about them doing the musical, and because, there's several rights in itself, just outside the music and the script to actually do that properly. But I'm wondering when we're going to start to see that happen, because everybody is left, right, and center trying to grab club names. But it'll be interesting to see when some of these companies go back, to try to claim their usernames or their trademarked copyrighted names.
That is a very good question, and I am not a lawyer. If there is anybody, a lawyer in the room, raise your hand. We're not going to ask for legal advice, but that is great. And they mentioned in the article, it's talking about Disney usually is will go after them, so it's a little shocking that they've got to put up the Lion King. This is interesting because also in VR, there was something similar. They did Neverland, and so they had actors and singing, and it was like all like real time, and so you're in virtual reality, and people from around the world were acting and performing Neverland, and so it comes down to the platform has to have the licenses, and then in other circumstances the actual promoter, and there's a lot to go on, and we don't know what licensing. They cover, like, say, the apparent blanket licensing that Clubhouse has. We don't know anything about that. There is a lot of licensing that goes into place. But yeah, so intellectual property on the licensing side, then you have the intellectual property on the brand side. And, it's in the domain world. So say if I started like .club, and again, if anybody was, .club about a month ago was what NFTs are in titles this month, and .club. So if I bought, say, Disney.club, and I went to a domain broker and I said, hey, I want to flip this, the domain broker would probably, I can't speak for all of them, but the domain broker would probably say, I'm not going to, broker this for you because you're going to get a cease and desist letter from Disney. And I'm shocked you haven't already, because it's so he goes to like websites, URLs. I mean, Julia Roberts, I think she also this was many years ago. I believe it was Julia Roberts. Is that somebody had JuliaRoberts.com and she filed to get it under her own, because it was her own personal brand. So we are looking at, it's like, if at Disney, can they take it? I mean, this is a new era, but could Disney take, if somebody had Disney at Disney on Instagram, or a website like there's that story of somebody who registered 21st Century Fox instead of 20th Century Fox, and then 20th Century Fox just bought the domain from them. I don't know if there was no lawsuit at that time, and I mean that goes back 20 years. But so what are you thinking more that are the issues, and like what do you think this will roll out as?
Yeah, I'm not too sure, and just kind of to your point, I am not a lawyer, so I don't know, but I do have my understanding of just in terms of IP, and just in the music realm, I have my working knowledge, but I just find it so like, if this app is going to grow to its potential and that evaluation where, yeah, even something so stickler as to the name itself and people being protective of their personal brand, it'll be interesting to see how it rolls out. Like, there was a case that I saw a couple of years ago, just even up here in Canada, where Big Bang Theory, when they were promoting their show on television up here during the NHL lockout, they were going with the name Big Bang Night in Canada, which was kind of a play on words of Hockey Night in Canada. And Bell Media went after Big Bang Theory essentially just because they were using the play on words for that. So something as simple as using in Canada, that's trademarked since the 50s. It'll be interesting to see where, like, something like Disney, for example, where they're a stickler in that kind of stuff, go after some of these clubs. But then again, the other thing I also have to consider is, it's like, is it big enough where is it even going to matter for them? Because yeah, you go onto like other platforms, there's several fan clubs of Disney. There's even as well, like, I know several people that, like, they do the merchandise, and they do play on words, for several notable Disney brands, and they're not necessarily going after every single individual seller that's on Etsy or whatever it may be. But just looking on Clubhouse, there is a club that got started that's at Disney, that's got 33 members in it, if I saw correctly. But if Disney tries to do a push on Clubhouse, yeah, they're going to be the first target because they're using their direct username for it.
Yeah, but do they have it? That's the question: is do they have rights over a username on some other platform? Yeah. So again, that's I wish I had a little more legal knowledge on that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to reach out to some of my friends in the industry, and see what they say. Maybe like have a talk about this. And leading. So let's talk about brands. And again, anybody that wants to jump up on the stage here, feel free to raise your hand. I'd love to continue conversation here from different perspectives. We were talking about Turntable FM coming back. We're talking about licensing. That's going to be the issue. Billboard charts. And so what I wanted to point, here's one that's leading into the brand space, is the fact that, now is Disney going to come after? Well, what about when Disney Radio gets on here? So, it's like what can brands do? So is this going to end up turning into something where all the brands just start takeovers? And now they have the room, and again, big corporate brands or whatever it is, or it's like Nike have the Nike Fitness Club, and then it's just everybody's just the masses go over to Nike, and which also then leaves all the smaller rooms struggling to get attention because it's the Nike can bring in the top athletes from around the world to host a room, kind of like when Elon Musk comes in or Zuckerberg comes in or Gates comes in, and it's like if you're holding a room, sorry, you're going up against the massive names. So could this potentially turn into a giant virtual shopping mall in a sense that just has all like radio and talks and podcasts like shows, but with the major brands taking over because they have all that power?
I think there will definitely be some of that for sure, but I think the reason most people like this is for the collaborative LinkedIn type of connections. So if it gets too much like a big corporate presentation, I just feel like, there will be a lot of interest in that because there's still a lot of knowledge to be shared, but people are going to still value those connections and networking opportunities on Clubhouse in the smaller rooms.
Right, but and there's definitely that, and now we're seeing what Clubhouse is, talking about the monetizations, and there's speculations around. All right, create your room. Now you can have room, events for just your room. Are they going to have monetization tiers for your room? Like, hey, if you subscribe to my room and pay $4.99 a month, you can have access to my private events, things like that. And that's, we're going to see a giant shift in 6 to 8 months because there's two things to consider in this space. Is one, they have to come up with a monetization strategy. And is Clubhouse going to survive on a subscription model? Or is it going to take an advertising model? Or is it going to take a partnership model? I mean, you look at, when Snapchat, when Snapchat, first started their monetization model, it was like you wanted a spot on there with $750,000. Well, what are we going to have in our feeds? Is it going to be something like, say, Twitch, where when you enter a room, you are forced to listen to a 30-second audio ad, and before you can even get into the room? These are some of the things that how can it's expensive to run an app like this once it gets especially once it gets to scale. Then the other thing that comes into play is I'm just going to mute you there, Slack, for a moment. It is then it's like, okay, so what are the monetization strategies for people? So the landscape's going to change in two different ways. If they do that where it becomes private clubs, or you need to, pay the what's the fee to enter the club, your particular club, and what's going to happen when there are more sponsors in here. It's going to change. And here's the third point is in 6 to 8 months, we are going to be on a different listening schedule because as things start to open up while not everybody, many companies are still will allow their employees to work remotely, listening habits are going to change, just as they changed when we first went into lockdown. You see that, music streaming actually dipped, but Netflix and video streaming went up because of that psychological. They wanted the comfort level of just, I can take a break and catch up on I can binge watch all these things because now I have a little free time. Everybody's like, we get a month off. Okay, great. 14 days to flatten the curve 1 year later. Then, and podcasts also had a different listening pattern because people weren't driving and commuting to work or on the subway. So now what we're starting to see is that shift come back as more people go back out into the world and commute. Listening habits change again. So our people that are on here that are addicted and listening 24/7, they're not going to be able to do that as much at work. I mean, yes, people, can wear their earbuds at work, but that then becomes more passive listening. And also we're in that space where you don't have somebody walking into your office, tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, I need to meet with you right now. And we need to go over these things, pull up the spreadsheet or whatever it is. You can still kind of keep your coworkers at arm's length and say, "Oh yeah, I'll get to that meeting," or yeah, we can talk later today, and they can hang out in Clubhouse for another hour and just say, "Oh yeah." So the listening habits are going to change.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I actually heard them on the Clubhouse town hall where the creators and the executive staff were talking that they're about to introduce a creator fund, somewhat akin to like TikTok's creator fund. So with that knowledge, it makes me wonder, if they're going to be following something more along the lines of TikTok, where they do have inline ads like or Twitch beforehand, and I wonder if there will be some donation platform or like Twitch has bits and how they take a cut of that and subscriptions to support the artists with different, this is just obviously pure speculation, but they are doing creator fund, and I've been wanting to look into that a little more, but that's my guess. My intuition tells me it's going to be more like TikTok or Twitch.
Yeah, and Peter,
by the
also,
way, there's
go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, there's one other thing that you guys left out also is the fact that Twitter's just launched Spaces, Instagram's supposedly working on a platform. There's going to be a lot more competition, not just with people going back to their offices and everything, but other platforms in the same space as well.
Yep, Space.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to mention that as well.
Yeah, go Brett. Yeah.
Yeah, because you mentioned, Peter, just with Snapchat, with the stories feature, when Instagram rolled that out, it just completely killed Snapchat's just entire business model, essentially, just for on the brand perspective, because everyone was jumping to it, because at one point, you had 125 million people a day that were organically checking Snapchat content. They're not getting that kind of numbers now, but if one of these more established social media companies were to come out with a legitimate contender against the model of Clubhouse, and they already have their monetization set, is what's the forecast in the future for that? To Randy's point, because you're going to have listener habits with the pandemic shift, and then if any of these companies come out with a superior product or model, then who knows?
So
I was on Spaces last night, by the way. Sorry.
No, go on, because I'm going to lead right back into that, Randy. So I was talking about this last week about Spaces, because what Spaces did was they saw what was happening, and they rushed to open up Spaces to the Android platform before Clubhouse could get to Android users, and they did it in a way that I'm sure they had to change their roadmap and just make a hard left turn, or maybe in their case it was the right turn. I'll be here all day, thanks. Anyway, so the thing is, Android users can't create a room, but they can join a room. So it's still iOS on Clubhouse that you can create a room, but now Android users at least can join that room, whereas Clubhouse hasn't, is not there. So you have Facebook. There's also TikTok. I swear I saw something that TikTok was trying to even come up with something, TikTok parent company. Here it is. TikTok parent company is ByteDance, is working on a Clubhouse-like app for China. Okay, so again, I mean, we won't get into the whole China, TikTok, and ByteDance and everything, but there's so many competitors going out there, so we don't know if Clubhouse could end up in the internet wasteland. We don't know. It could be Turntable from 2013 to tie this all together, but they have to come up with something unique in the next 6 to 8 months. So, Randy, I'd love to hear your thoughts now. Take it away.
Yeah, so Spaces was actually pretty good. I was surprised. It's got its quirks. There's things that you got to get used to. But I was on Twitter and just saw a link to an article. Then I saw that the person who the article was referenced in it, that I looked above, and he was live at that moment on Spaces, and it's someone I'm friends with. And immediately then saw Dan Steinberg, who's in the room right now, also join the room. And there was probably 75 to 100 people in the room. It had a similar look to Clubhouse, but one of the cool things is you can message people directly because you're on Twitter already. And if you're just on the regular Twitter app, you see an alert at the top of the page on your Twitter app showing you that there's a live space at that moment. So they're going to have the ability really quickly to win people over, because anyone who's already on Twitter just doing whatever is going to be alerted that they should jump into this conversation that's going on. So I was way more impressed than I expected, even though it's got some work to go.
Yeah, and what Twitter has built in is the fact that, like you said, you can easily communicate. Here you can't. It's everybody, if there's no linkable, you can't do any links in your profile. I've done things where I do with the pitch and play rooms and some artist rooms. Like if you want to submit something, go to my Bitly link, and I actually have a Google Doc where you can like find out more information, or you can actually contact me, or people, slide into your DMs on Instagram. I've never thought of Instagram as my main text messaging service, but it is now. And but Twitter has that all built in. The fact that you'll be able to share links, you'll be able to pull up content you can reference, and it's all already built within the communication tool. Whereas audio is fantastic, but you still want to be able to say, hey, here's this link I'm talking about. Like if I'm pulling up these news articles, I'd love to just be able to say, hey, here's the link to the news article. You can go check that out while I'm reading, or check it out later, save it for later. And I would love to be able to do that on Clubhouse. Now I can do that because I'm live streaming on the video, and so I can just have those links go in there. And I see, is Dan still in here? Dan, are you there? Yeah. Hey, Dan. So here's something. Dan, I'll reply to your text after I finish this room, which we finish up at 1:00 if you're still free later. So, this is the kind of thing that, we have all this multiple communications, but Clubhouse doesn't have that easy way to have that, back end conversation or share things. And so there, it's going to be something that can hinder their progress.
By the way, one other thing, when you look at Twitter, you have verified users. You don't have that on Clubhouse yet. So there's a lot of fake people on Clubhouse. So that verification is yet another reason to be on Spaces, and something that Clubhouse is going to have to innovate on quick.
Did Clubhouse? Yeah, and that's a great point. And I was thinking about that, like verified, and like then verified rooms, and that ties in with branding. Does it become the Nike room? Well, that's a verified branded Nike room. Brett, bringing you back to the Disney. Is that a verifiable Disney room, or does Disney have to come up with Disney Clubhouse, and then that's their verifiable room? Yeah, and Clubhouse, I think, was addressing. And if anybody remember, I thought I heard something that Clubhouse was addressing, like the fake names, where say like Facebook, if you try to use a famous person's name, they will ask you for proof. They will say looks like this is a famous person. You need to verify this, so you can't have the imposters. And I think Clubhouse has been taking that into account and reviewing some of these names.
Yeah, there was a room I was in just before this that was having the conversation about branding versus marketing, where they were talking about major celebrities and just dealing with just because, you don't necessarily have a publicist that's working directly with you with this, and it's kind of a free for all, with the exception of some rooms that are very structured conversations. So the major celebrities don't want to necessarily be exposed to that. But then again, with the people that are impersonating or using a fake profile just as a celebrity, I've seen just some unique uses of that, where I'm not sure if it was you, Peter, or somebody else, one of these rooms I was in that was mentioned in the story, but someone impersonated Brad Pitt, and they got a room going about climate change. And they brought all these people together. He started as the moderator, did not say a single thing. And it was like a couple-hour conversation about climate change. And then at the very end, before he closed the room, whoever the guy was impersonating it went on the mic and said, "Hey, I'm not actually Brad Pitt, but look at all the people here that are talking about an important issue. You would have never come to this room otherwise to have this conversation. It's a great conversation that needs to be had, but then again, you would have never come because you only saw the celebrity name. But yeah, that will be an interesting thing to watch as it evolves. Because yeah, I've seen like some unique uses, especially with all the stand-ups and the impersonators that are doing nightly shows, just impersonating different celebrities. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that evolves.
That's a really interesting, kind of a thought piece. There is like it shows the power of why brands, hire celebrities to be to be their brand ambassadors, and therefore now is that something that Brad Pitt can go say, well, I didn't support this. This is falsifying my image using my likeness, and therefore could Brad Pitt legally have a case against that particular person for impersonating him, misrepresenting him in that sense. And that can cause a lot of problems. So, because then, say, if like it was an issue on like a very sensitive topic, and climate change, so it's a sensitive topic, but like, a controversial topic, and that person's claimed they're Brad Pitt and said, I take this stance, but Brad Pitt in real life takes the exact opposite stance. And TMZ is going to pick that up. They're going to, they're going to start running this. Well, Brad Pitt was in a Clubhouse room talking about this, and it's going to get out there. And with the fake news and the misinformation out there, this is just, it could possibly add to it, and it's going to hurt more. So it is really important that to get a verification process in as soon as possible.
Yeah, the other piece they also brought up in this branding room, as it relates to celebrities, is them do it, because a lot of people are starting to build up a following. They're trying to reach out to celebrities for interviews or being a part. So what I've seen was they were having this conversation about them actually making a profile versus them calling into the moderator. And then I don't know, because yeah, it's like, it's kind of in some degrees it's an uncontrolled atmosphere, in compared to like a traditional TV interview. But then if, let's say, for example, Peter was to say, oh, I'm calling into Kanye West and we're going to get him to interview, and then I start, and yeah, he's not starting up a profile for privacy reasons, but we're going to interview him over the phone, and you start playing sound bites, let's say from Joe Rogan when he was on there, because yeah, it's like it's a very dicey way, because yeah, you're only talking audio, and there's a plethora of sound clips that you can find on the internet of any celebrity, and you can just cut and snip it in any third party service, to make it sound any way you want. So it's an interesting thing to keep or to pay attention to going forward.
That's interesting. Now I'm going to go find some interviews, and I'm going to ask completely different questions, and then just cut their responses, and then make it sound like I'm interviewing, and it just makes no sense. Almost like what Space Ghost Coast to Coast was. If anybody remembers that show. I just want to give a shout out to a bunch of people out there. I see Susan, I see Viv and Vivian, Dan, Nolan, Vaughn. How you doing? Heather, always great to see you. Mike, likewise. So what I do here is every day, as in day in weekdays, at 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time, I pick 3 articles from the news, like headlines of the day, or something we might have missed from the week before, or if it's a slow news week, which sometimes it is in the music business. And then I read the articles, and then we have a little discussion about, I read an article, then we'll have a little discussion if people want to join in, and then I'll move to the next article, and then after the third article, we open it up to the floor. So if there's anybody that wants to chime in about any of these topics, then we open up to, like, say, if there's something else that you might just want to throw out, there's a topic that is important to you, you can raise your hand and just jump on stage, and we'll open it up. So I do this every Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern. It's all part of Music Industry City, musicindustrycity.com. And if you want to be part of the club, just hit that little green Monopoly house at the top of the screen there, and that way you can join the club. And I'd love to hear from you if there's something that you feel that should be discussed and it might be interesting. Definitely hit me up. You can slide into my DMs on Insta. It's all in my profile, all that stuff. And it's always great to see Brett, Daddy, Slack, Randy. I know Vaughn, Mike, anybody, if you want to jump onto the stage, just raise your hand. And I'd like to get back into let's continue with the future of music on Clubhouse. And what do we see about in particular? What's going to happen with licensing? We're already starting to see these DJ rooms. We're starting to see, I know there's like an All Day I Dream, which is basically just a 24/7 mix. And we see this a lot on Twitch and also in VR. And so there's like DJ stations. They're just playing music, or they talk about like D Nice got up there and just like they're playing music. There's also these listening rooms, pitch rooms, which is a little bit different because some of these might be just DIY artists. But let's look at what's going to happen with this licensing issue. I mean, is how closely, and this was discussed in one of the articles, how closely is the music industry watching this, probably like a hawk, but the RIAA, the NMPA, looking to when do they swoop in and start saying, hey, you got to start paying. And we all know like royalties, hinders growth, but it's also not paying royalties hinders growth. So let's, I want to get your thoughts on that about maybe, does anybody know about what kind of licensing Clubhouse has, or if anybody knows what they need to make this all happen?
I just want to jump in before anyone has an opinion on the legalities. I just don't know if anyone's going to go after it this early. What you tend to find with new technology is if the use case is for something positive and most of the users are not using it in a negative fashion, quite often the people who control the IP will sit back and watch to figure out how they could take advantage of it over the long haul. And so far as it comes to copyrights, there's not a rampant amount of bad actors. Like most people aren't coming to Clubhouse to listen to music or to listen to any IP that's not owned by the user. So like I would just think that nobody's going to jump that fast to go after it unless something changes on the front where it becomes a danger to these people's IP.
And that is
even take Twitch, right? Like Twitch took years of having consistent music streaming channels for it to even be on the board. It was owned by Amazon, and it still wasn't, being enforced by the music scene. So I tend to agree. Plus, with the kind of shitty quality, audio quality, even from the iRig, until they fix that, I don't see that being a serious problem in the industry.
Yeah, so two things is,
just to
and the one less
spitball a few ideas. I mean, on some level, I guess there's a question of like, what's the critical mass where it turns from promotion to actual, wanting to monetize. And I don't know what that number is exactly, but there's a number there that is meaningful. And that sort of also has implications in terms of like the monetization model for Clubhouse itself. I mean, we hear talks about advertising versus tip jars, et cetera. And it seems to me like advertising, if you're worrying about CPMs, like, you need, like, where are you going to make those CPMs? It's going to have to be like in the hallways, not in the rooms. Unless the rooms like happen to have like, at some point they'll open these rooms up to, however many people, and then that starts to matter. But as it currently exists, I can't imagine that any advertisers are particularly concerned about, the size of the rooms as they currently exist. And then just to follow on, and then I'll shut up. As far as music rights are concerned, and this kind of app, in the sort of how do I put this? This idea that blockchain is going to be the thing that solves all the music payment stuff. I mean, all it's going to take is someone to broadcast copyrighted music in one of these rooms, and a bunch of people to record it through their iPhones into like another device to bypass all of that blockchain stuff and potentially any rooms, whether it's Clubhouse or another platform that's broadcasting audio that other people are recording. It's just immediate piracy. So that's going to be very interesting to watch.
Right. Yeah. A couple things taken consideration, like we mentioned, audio quality, and there's those. Rate my. You can't have really a good rate my mix room. It's like, hey, you got to lower the 2K a little bit, 1K. You need to add a little more bass and high end. So, so you're not getting this great quality, and so it sounds like it's like the VHS rip of a VHS going back and losing quality of time. But the other thing is, you brought up that point about monetization. So, and Randy is saying it's like, is the industry watching? So there's two things. The difference between Twitch is that because it's video, it requires different licensing, and it is video on demand. So that was the huge issue with Twitch. This is a different type of licensing, and it's like, and it's not on demand, but people can record. Like, I record this, and you note that it's in the terms of service, and that it's put the big red circle on there, let people know you're recording. And what the thing is, again, with the finances, is like when Clubhouse. So here's 2 points that I think about is, all right, so it's not big enough yet. When it gets to scale, the music industry will say, okay, we see all this music going on, and now you are monetizing. You're making money off the backs of our musicians. And, well, what if Clubhouse didn't have a monetization strategy? Let's think about this. Clubhouse doesn't have any monetization strategy, but they have investors, and they have $100 million in investment, and they're valued at $1 billion. And music starts becoming performed on here, like radio. And Clubhouse is like, hey, this is great. Fine. And we got another round of investments, and we don't have any advertising. We're not making any. We have no revenue. Okay, except in investments. And what happens when they exit? So the people that created the app and the people that are partners in there all get to make money on the exit, but they never had to pay anything out, even though they declared. So if it's like, monetization, I don't think is the point where the industry should be looking into. It's like when the app becomes becomes cash flow positive, if ever, Spotify. But the thing is, it's like somebody's making money. And that's why the industry should look. I think is it mass adoption? Is it what's user scale? Is it the number of music streams? Is it blockchain going in to be able to manage this? So I'm kind of just putting that as a thought piece into this. And if anybody has some ideas or thoughts on this and wants to jump on the stage, feel free to raise your hand and join in. We have about 8 minutes left of the room. I know there's some other great rooms going on today in the music business, so I don't want to overlap into them. But anybody have other thoughts on that?
I mean, the only thing I would say to follow up is it seems like the model for the music business to monetize on it is really just going to be following in. ASCAP and BMI are going to have to expand their licensing to platforms like Clubhouse, because in essence, it's almost more like a restaurant kind of model, right? Where it's like the music, unless people are like featuring the music. But it seems to me like most of the music that I've heard on here is like people trying to pitch their own music, in which case it's like not really a monetization model, because those people are, trying to get into a place where monetization matters, but they're not there yet. But to the extent that music is being played that's already popular. I mean, I personally haven't heard any of that, but I could see an argument that that they could be made from ASCAP and BMI that they need to pay some kind of license fee for any kind of broadcasting or sort of DJ events, as it were.
Right, you are going to see the DJ. It's already coming. There's more DJ events coming up. It might not be showing up in your personal feed just due to whatever their algorithm does, because based on who follows you, I don't know what their algorithm is. I mean, and the other thing, this could be a completely moot point. I mean, they could already have every license in place for all we know, because it said like reportedly they have a blanket license similar to ASCAP and BMI. That was what was reported in the article, but that's vague at best. So what is
Randy? Sorry to interrupt. Randy, just curious, how did you find the Twitter Spaces? I just went into Twitter. I didn't see anything, but I could.
Yeah, I was on Twitter already. and I looked up, you know how they have like those stories like things on the top now? I don't remember what they are, but you see like people's like names and there's a circle around them. I saw that, and then there was a purple circle connecting two people together. And it was the two people who were hosting that space. And the moment it ended, the space was gone. So you only see it when there's an active space.
Gotcha. So there's no like real hallway like there is here where you can sort of browse like what you might be interested in.
Yeah, I think it's
pops up.
Yeah, I think it's just simply if you're following somebody who hosts a space, you know, and very few people have access still. So the person I was following who was hosting a space is Nathan Hubbard, who used to be the CEO of Ticketmaster. And he used to work at Twitter also, so he clearly got early access. So I would follow people who are likely to have early access, or follow him, and you may get lucky. I think he's doing either a nightly show or a weekly show on Spaces too.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking into Spaces. It hasn't rolled out to me yet. I think it's really interesting. I would, but the only thing with Twitter right now, I mean, because they're getting rid of Periscope, so Periscope is pretty much gone. So on the live stream, but they are incorporating that still into Twitter. The problem with Twitter is having its Google moment where they've picked up other services over the few years, or trying out different applications and then getting rid of them, or it's getting confusing. And I like Twitter. I just think and it can't stick to what Twitter just was, but it's confusing what Twitter does. I mean, fleets. I mean, what the fuck is a fleet? Okay, does anybody? No, it's a terrible word. So it's like, hey, did you see my fleet? Nobody's going around that. That's not going to get into the vernacular. It's something that's like, I would like to see more of that focus on Spaces and less of fleets trying to be stories and things like that. I mean, I look at my followers and I don't see much action up there at all. And so that competition with, trying to be TikTok, trying to be Instagram, trying to be Facebook. I think if Twitter really doubles down on, this is my personal opinion, I think if Twitter doubles down on Spaces, keeps Twitter what it is as the foundation, doubles down on Spaces, allows live streaming, and can kind of keep that in and becomes its own, what it is. It's always been that conversation and news and, life, and it can focus in that space. And I think it would stay really active. And while it might not ever hit it's not hitting the numbers of, Instagram or TikToks, it just sits in a great pocket. I think there's an amazing opportunity for Twitter right now to really form into this real pocket that it's Twitter and it's not anything else, but it's confusing right now.
Yeah, to your point, Peter, as well, just with the overall confusion about that, one of the things that I even notice as well is just, especially with them trying to play the catch-up game, is that for a company that has prided itself in short-form content for the entirety of their business existence, and then launching this where they're trying to compete with Clubhouse, where it's encouraged to be a more longer form content, like we're in an hour-long room here, and like there's several rooms that are going for like several plus hours, even 24 hours, and and out of all the social media companies, they're the one that's launching the catch-up model. I find that very interesting, that they're going against their core values of short and sweet, 180, 240 less characters. And yeah, we're going to launch a long form thing now all of a sudden.
But are they going against their core? When you think about, one of the main reasons people go to Twitter is for news and information from sources that they want to hear from. So while it's not short and sweet, people do go to Twitter to click on articles from people they find important. So there's that.
Yeah, that is true.
I give you a check for that, Randy. I give you a check because I wholeheartedly agree with that. Sorry, Brett.
I was just looking more or less at the structure piece of it, but then, yeah, to Randy's point, it's an easy way to go and check in on people you do want to follow and just get that direct piece of information.
Yeah, I think, then here's, and we're down to like the last minute of the room here. So to wrap this up and put this on the plate, let's not leave out LinkedIn for news. because LinkedIn is going. It's you just have to be accepted, but they are offering live streaming. They do have something like I don't know. It's like they do have something like a little stories and things like that. I've been away from LinkedIn, but I'm starting to get back into it. So from that news, I mean, LinkedIn and Twitter could end up being the two main news sources, and they could have their own little battle going on instead of Twitter trying to be Instagram and TikTok. And I would like to see that. I would like to see the social media platforms really define who they are as opposed to trying to be a little bit of every other platform and create that confusion. So, any final thoughts as we wrap up the final minute here? Brett, Daddy, Slack, Randy, Vaughn?
I got one tomorrow. You got to talk about Triller and whatchamacallit, Versus that deal that went down today. We missed that.
Yeah. I have to prep a little bit early, and so it comes. Sometimes I miss what comes across the wire. It gets late, so yeah, definitely because I have been following Triller and the whole Triller Universal public argument with the licensing. So there is a lot of great history there with Triller. So yeah, Randy. So yeah, I'll definitely have that up. I'll cue it on deck for tomorrow. And so once again, thank you to everybody. I'm going to give you a nice round of applause here. All right. Thanks everybody that came on. Thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate this. And again, I welcome your feedback. My name is Peter Schwinge. I do this every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. It's part of the Music Industry City Broadcast Network, musicindustrycity.com. You can find us on YouTube, your podcast players. You can also click that green Monopoly house that's up on the top there to join the club. And if you on musicindustrycity.com, you can just register there and you get our weekly schedule. We do live stream talk shows. We do this news. We're going to be doing more artist centric, like artist career talks on Wednesday and Friday nights. So there's a lot going on, and there's so many amazing other, events that are out there and clubs, and we're putting together a calendar. There's a few of us that are starting to put together a calendar of what the some really great music clubhouse rooms together, because we want to really help support each other, and so people know hey, these are the people that are doing a lot, and I really appreciate everybody tuning in. So thank you once again, and if you want to hang out for the next 15 seconds and listen to a little outro music, I'll see you tomorrow 12 p.m. Have a good one.